Hey, subscriber to my client, it's me, Speedpaints. Coming to in this video. I am turning Godzilla, kaijus, monsters, or whatever, into mech suits. And this video, I first did Mechagodzilla. Then, if I remember correctly, I did Behemoth. Then a very old one, Megalon, and then the final one being Bus. I can't pronounce that name. Without further ado, let's get into this video and roll into it and let's go. Like and subscribe if you enjoy this video. Hey, it's me, Ghost Striker. And I've made some new mechs, and I know it's been a while since the last did these audio files. And the reason why, it's because of, well, these mechs have actually taken a long time to make because there's like closer to 17-ish of them. The reason why they took me so long to make is because, ay caramba, the size and things the people wanted them to do, how tall they wanted them to be, were absolutely difficult to do. It took me a few months. The first one is also, have you seen those the Godzilla movies? Yeah, that's what these people wanted me to do. The first one was that Mechagodzilla character. I thought it very weird that he wanted me to make a robot into another robot. And get this guy was clocking it at around 9 feet tall, and he wanted a mech that made him, how do you put this, double his size. Now I asked the guy about why is he so freakishly tall. He seemed offended, and I backed down because not all my personal ammos were in the back room, and this guy was blocking my way. And I know even if I made him the ammos, if I could get to my ammos, he'll rip him to shreds. Except for a few, because those are really high durability and very, very intelligent, very good ammos. But yeah. He wanted me to make it, so I did. See, it scared me. It usually takes quite a bit to scare me. He said he wanted a, something like a little cannon on one side and like a bigger bazooka-like cannon on the other. He wanted 18 feet tall and with a tail. I did all that, and the guy scared me so much, I didn't even ask what he wanted it for. Because, hey, I wasn't going to ask. Because how badly the guy scared the living bejeebus out of me. So, I didn't ask, and when I went on to the news later, turned out the guy was a villain. And I call the Mechagodzilla because it's like Godzilla-like creation. I actually did create a, Godzilla mech for one guy to oppose him. Well, this guy wanted that mech to oppose the Godzilla mech I made. And then I remember making a Godzilla mech someone else, but that one was a very, very nasty one. But that's all for it. Let's just get to the next one. The next one was a little bit more interesting. The reason why was because, well, this guy was actually a construction worker. Yeah, I know that sounds very weird that a construction worker came to me for a mech. But in reality, it's actually happened before for one of my Pokemon mechs. But, meh. The guy, when he finished it, I asked him why he wanted it. He turns out he just wanted it for protection and actually helping him at his job. So I finished making it for him. He bought it and all that. And the weird thing was, he was also freakishly tall, but not as tall. This guy only clocked in at around a few feet tall, maybe around 7-ish, and he wanted it to just give him an extra around, if I remember correctly, 2 feet in height, well, 3 feet in height, which became a whopping 10 feet. The guy still scared me, but he was actually a relatively good guy. And he actually is now part of the Mecha team that I am kind of responsible for making, known as the Mechagodzus. The leader is the Godzilla mecha guy armor I made for that guy. Now, the mech itself is a little bit more interesting because, well, like I stated, it's freakishly tall. But not just that, but also of the fact that the arms are the longest part of it. He wanted it for a basically to be a long-ranged fighting mech, like not long range as in weapon wise, but as long as in reach wise. I asked him why. He says, he showed me his arms, which were actually go on to his side. Turns out he has 3 joints, which is a rare mutation as well. And he was able to fold them down. And he showed me that he could bend his arms in 3 ways. I was like, that's cool. He says, you don't think I'm a freak? I said, dude, if you had any idea what kind of mechs I've made for other people, you would be scared of me. He said, okay, and I finished the mech for him. The guy himself was a relatively nicer guy, but he turns out he's every now and again I do offer my customers some food. I'm a nice guy like that. And he said he's a vegetarian. That was a little interesting because the guy was relatively beefy. And when I say beefy, I don't mean like chubby, I mean he was jacked and ripped. Turns out he ate it was another disorder he had that caused rapid muscle growth. I decided not to pry into his private life a whole lot, so I just got straight to work. Now the overall mech was a little more difficult because of, well, it being 10 feet tall. I'm only around 6 feet. I had to climb up a few things to get to the top of the mech just to place in a few pieces. The helmet was a very simple design. He originally wanted some tusks, but they decided to scrap that idea. And since this thing is pretty tall, but not as big as the Godzilla one, the Mechagodzilla one, I decided to call it. I okayed the name with him with Mechamoth. Yeah, Behemoth, Behemoth. Mechamoth. Yeah, the thing is freakishly large, and that would explain it. Like I already stated, the guy was a good guy, and he's actually one of the strongest fighters next to a few. Maybe up there with the God Mechagodzilla guy's armor. But like I already stated, overall, nice guy. Just do not piss him off unless you want to have a few broken bones in the morning. Yeah, he is that strong. And strong enough to break through a very thin layer of tungsten titanium alloy. Yeah, he's strong. Now, another armor I made was a relatively interesting one. On the count that it was actually made for originally construction, but then modified, well, brought back and I heavily modified it to the point it was now a fighting one. Originally, it was made for digging underground tunnels, and it was a squadron of at least 2 vehicles, and these vehicles I had to work in to make the basically the drill bits were some pretty high-tech drill bits, and they could drill to pretty much anything. Turns out these things were a very strong tungsten, titanium, and I believe steel alloy. Very hard to find and very strong. Stronger, about 100 times stronger than my own alloy. I managed to crack out the recipe and how to make it from one of them, who was just talking and talking and talking. The guy wouldn't shut up, so I decided to play that to my advantage. And that's how I got the idea. Now, they were saying they were having some trouble with some villain attacks on their subways, on their tunnel system, which is disguised as a subway system soon to be. Pretty sure they are going to turn into a subway after they find a few things to what they're truly looking for, but I'm not going to pry. This one actually stands about 12 feet tall, and the person who's going to pilot it is around 6 feet tall. So, yeah, and every now and again I do see a weird person coming out of the ground or something that is around, if I remember correctly, can stand around 20 feet tall, so, the guy is dwarf this guy. But also I see a few others every now and again that range from 8 feet to a few other feet. But, back to this mech. The armor pieces were very light, but I still had to have a personal forklift mech I made to help me lift it up and attach it to the joints. This thing doesn't have any hands. They wanted me to make a little lightning-like rod that could charge and shoot an energy blast off. I decided, where do you want me to put it? And they said, anywhere. So, I decided to go for a rhinoceros beetle-like look. And I stuck it square on the top of the thing's forehead. Well, on top of the head, actually. And they decided to go with it and decided to have me make the thing into a, have a beetle-like face. And yes, I did it. And do I regret it? Maybe a little, because I also gave him little antennas that actually sense out the direction people can attack from. And this thing is overall really bulky, but the guys piloting it and the people who wanted to make it paid a pretty penny, and who might to complain about I customized once. So let's just get to the next one and the last one of today. The next and last one up today is a very, very weird one. By very weird, I mean this guy wanted me to make a mech that was that does enhance his strength, but greatly slows him down. I asked him why not just want me to speed it up too. He says that even though he personally is very fast, he wants to be able to walk at a normal pace because his speed is very hard to control. And so I did that. I made it so heavy that this guy would have to work out his legs 5 times a day, run it about 20 miles total, and had to be clocking around 50 miles an hour just to try and get up his legs enough to the point that he can run in this thing, just basically jog. He managed to work out his legs enough to where he can run about twice as fast as a turtle, but he can still what was it? I'm trying to remember. Can still close a relatively good distance, because I also added a very hard to make a density altering thing. Yeah, I know, it's not feasible usually, but hey, this is Counter-Strike's making business, so I did it, okay? Now, this thing has more defensive capabilities than offensive, but still has a very good offensive. This thing has some very, very thick plating. I'm talking, you can launch a nuke at this thing, but 5 nukes at this thing, it'll still be able to run. Matter of fact, it would absorb the radiation and power it even more. The only thing I've seen be able to take down this thing, and I've designed it to do this, is a few nukes and a few god rods. A god rod is something that is launched from, is basically a giant metal pole that is basically launched out of a satellite in the solar system, and it comes down using the kinetic energy it's building up. When it hits the ground, boom! Giant explosion with no of the aftermath. If I remember correctly, Dallas. It would take about 3 to 4 of those to level Dallas. So, yeah, very powerful. It'll take about 50, not 50, closer to around, maybe around 10 to just start making a few good-sized holes in the armor. And this thing's actually smaller. It's actually only around 7 feet tall. The guy who pilots it is actually around 7 feet tall, too. Well, technically it's around 6 feet. But it's closer to 7. But, yeah, this guy is strong. And now for the offensive capabilities. This thing has spikes, 4 spikes on each arm and each leg on the lower part. So, yeah, you can also use that to climb up things. So just be very careful around that guy. He's also more of a vigilante or neutral guy. So, yeah, but still that Mechagodzilla one, he's able to take on a few of these guys. As a matter of fact, able to severely injure this one. And that scares me because I didn't really make that do that. I most likely had a few modifications made from some other person. But, that's all. That's all for today. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video because that's all the time I got for today. Until next time, subscribe to Respect Streaming or Demon Silence. Goodbye and peace out, everyone.